Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with the Nerdarchy crew.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
We had a comment slash request from a William Coletti. Actually, he had a couple requests, but we're going to break it down a little bit today. And one of the things he was saying is how when he starts his campaigns, they all kind of start off with the same tropes of meet in the tavern or the adventurers responding to a rumor or something that's posted. And he also says how their go-to is dungeon crawls, and he reads the novels, and there's always these great stories, but his campaigns never turn out that way. Right. So well, I think we can help him out a little bit.
First, I want to say there's nothing wrong with that style if everybody's happy with it. If you want to elevate your game away from that, okay, you guys, it all starts off with you guys are in a tavern. It's a stereotype that's been around, for decades. And there's easy ways to do something, apart from that. And I think 5th edition really kind of gives you a lot of tools to help with that.
It does. Well, you know what, too? I just put up a book review on the website today for the Lazy Dungeon Master, and he actually gives great suggestions for kind of what, William's talking about here and how to kind of combat that. One is when you run that style of game, you are building the story for your players. You're not building it with them.
Right.
So that's going to be the first thing that detracts. See, when we start Dungeon Mastering and we run a game, we feel like we have to control everything, and that we're responsible for making sure everything happens. Mm-hmm. And I've fallen into this trap many a times, but we're not. We're participants, right?
I've been in that boots where I've just been kind of ham-handing some stuff. But I mean, my game that I ran on Saturday night, I clearly, I gave a couple things to work with, and I let you guys just run. And it was like an hour or two worth of you guys spooning me, whatever you felt like doing.
So, in order to have that happen too, you need to give. What you really have to do is you have to come up like the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
And from the beginning, you have to offer some choices,
mm-hmm.
and then you have to be kind of prepared for them to do whatever the choices are that you put before them,
and to think outside the box and take a different choice.
Yeah, because that can very well happen as well. Now the problem with when you do that is, especially for a very linear style of play, which that's what he's kind of talking about.
Uh-huh.
Is I write the mission. It goes like this. They go through the dungeon, whatever the dungeon is. It starts here. It ends there. But when you start giving those choices, like they might not go to your dungeon.
So here's the most important question that the DM can ask. All right, what are you doing? It gives that player or whoever you're talking to DM's power, because they're gonna do whatever they want. 5th edition gives you you've got a background, so you've got some kind of history. Even if you didn't write some long story, you've got something that you were before, and now you're this now. And on top of that, it encourages you to say, look, you're not an adventurer all the time. You should be doing something else. So you should have some kind of, job or a place to live or something that you do in between adventures. So because of that, there's going to be role-playing opportunities, plot hook opportunities, in spades.
Well, and two, like if you look at 5th edition, because basically every character now at creation is kind of forced to kind of do a little bit of backstory, right? Because you have your bonds, your ideals, your flaws, your personality traits. Right there, that gives something for the DM to work with. A lot of the backgrounds also have a feature. A lot of those features are actually built-in role-playing situations.
Uh-huh.
Some kind of contact.
Yep.
So, or some kind of benefit. So, with those in mind, you can start putting stuff together that directly link to the character. When even if the character didn't come up with it, but if you go, hey, your criminal contact, Stan, has come to you with a problem or has a request or something. Right there, they're engaged, and they're going to be more engaged because you told them that this guy and you've known him for a while.
Right.
So right there, you tend to get more player buy-in. Now that's something that I've always done before they even started putting that in, but because whenever you can make it personal for the players, you're going to get better buy-in from them.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to guide them as much. Like they're gonna want to go, because this thing is about their character now, so they're gonna want to do that thing about their character. Mm-hmm. It kind of like puts the spotlight on them and kind of makes them more important to the story.
For instance, like the game that I'm running, a good portion of the beginning was all about these cultists, and your character had a curse put on him, and it's a mystery that's up in the air as to whether this guy is part of that cult or not, but there's strong evidence to suggest that he is. And therefore, whenever things are happening around that cult, your characters are a little bit more, okay, well, I'm still on the lookout for this guy. Right. I want to undo this curse. So that's something that, has got a character's backstory linked to the overarching plot. And anytime you can do that kind of stuff, it's going to be to the full and betterment of your game.
And the more links, the better.
Absolutely.
And, well, something else just happened, too, because Ryan's character is involved with a thieves guild, the Silverhands. Mm-hmm. And a rival one, or the Silverhand, and a rival one just popped up, which is the Golden Hands. Right? So not only is it more personal because now it's a rival to this institution he belongs to, mm-hmm. They've also kind of like one-upped them on their name. They got they got 2 hands instead of 1.
The precious metals.
It's gold instead of silver.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was well done.
So pregame, it's kind of, if you want to still run that dungeon mentality, more like the railroad rather than the sandbox, you got to have that linkage going on. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have the linkage in a sandbox, everyone's just going to go play with whatever toys they want to play with, and screw your campaign. Like that's
even with the linear campaign versus the sandbox, you still can personalize it. You can still get mm-hmm. better player buy-in.
Yes.
Like, okay, for instance, right? One of the most important things that's going to happen when you start to play this game is getting your players together. Mm-hmm. Now, there's several ways to do it. You could actually say, you guys are together and know each other somehow. Figure it out and then let me know. Mm-hmm. You can take individual stories. You can link several characters together. All of these are viable options. And let's be fair. Like, the Dungeon Master doesn't have to do everything. You guys can help him out a little bit. And at least with starting the game. Me, I'm fine with whatever. I've been doing it for a while, and I feel like one of my strengths has always bin getting the party together.
The group dynamic for, as you would call it, the micro celebrity game, I think was really well done. You had, Ryan and his cadre that came through this, essentially magical portal or gateway, that was kind of the central focus of the first session. Then you had anyone that was scholarly that was linked to, my character as we're there investigating. Then you had people who were there as mercenaries to protect the area. And then you had the goblin characters that were in the party stumble upon what was going on.
I like doing a lot of random circumstances that bring the party together. and it's fun.
When you have so many layers of, well, how the heck are all these characters in the same spot? I mean, I just feel that one was really well done. We have a huge group, and with all the dynamic layers, you manage to say, okay, let's funnel them all into this one exact spot at this moment in time.
It's it comes down to finding a common. You only need one common denominator.
Exactly.
To make it happen. Now, the campaign I'm running with my wife and kids. Mm-hmm. My wife is a sorceress. Mm-hmm. She took the sage background. She took the wizard's apprentice. Well, what does a sorcerer not really need to do?
Be an apprentice.
Be an apprentice and study magic. So she was going to be shipped back off to the Elven City and to her family because, basically she had a falling out with her mentor and, she really didn't need to be an apprentice because she knew magic. So I'm not going to study
magic.
Pretty much. So he's still responsible for her. So he hires a dragonborn warrior to escort her back home. Well, at the same time, they're leaving at first light. At the same time, I have my 10-year-old daughter playing a 16-year-old shifter, who is a bard, who has snuck out to spend the night at a fae party.
Right.
Because they like to listen to her perform. So she's hanging out with centaurs, dryads, pixies, and sprites, partying when she should be in bed.
Nice.
Well, on the way home from this, she's like, you're running late, and you're gonna if you get home and get caught, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. Well, to make matters worse, she gets accosted by thugs on the road. She shifts, bites them one in the face, and then runs. And, so she runs out of the woods back onto the road in front of the two companions that are traveling down the road, having trying to go down the road at the same time, screaming that these two guys are after her, and she's covered in blood. Of course, none of it's hers at this point. And I also, her background, she's a noble. So, so her parents have money as well. So she bolts past those two with the 3 men chasing her, and there's a confrontation. They stop them, and then I have an earthquake happen. A tremor. The ground opens up beneath them. All 3 end up falling through the hole into a lost crypt, and it gets sealed up behind them. So now they're just stuck together.
So you've got all the dynamics of parties together that can't just go their separate ways, and all the build-up leads to essentially that's where the campaign really starts.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work if you're not used to doing that style, but with a little bit of preparation, a little bit of thinking, you can get a party where you need it to be without doing the trope of you're in a tavern.
Right, and that's just what I did. I mean, I've done the you're in a tavern thing before too, and I've also done it as a lark, where like our Eberron game, I did it as a joke, but no one was pretty much no one was just hanging in a tavern to be in a tavern. Like they all had a reason to be there,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And things just unfolded from that. It was mass chaos, and the tavern may or may not have been blown up. I don't know. I don't even remember. But there was definitely things from the Far Realm that ended up in the tavern.
Oh my.
So, but that being said, it's just as easy for you to go, hey, why don't you guys link your backstories up together? Why don't you guys have some relationship things, so there's some commonality so that you don't drive me crazy, especially if you don't feel confident.
Mm-hmm. And just to change it up a little bit, instead of the tavern, just think bigger. Well, you guys are all in the same town for whatever reason. Or if there's druids and rangers, well, you are in the area, the region of this town. You go to this town for what you need. So even if people that are outlanders and would normally not be around the town, they're at the town for whatever reason, a special event, there's a party going on, there's like some kind of this or that, a town meeting that deals directly with the woodlands that they occupy.
There's a common denominator that you can find.
Yeah, there's something that you can just make it up and make it up and sell it. That's all,
good way, you're just talking about, there being a town. All right, you guys are all in the town. You happen to be, walking here and there. And at one particular moment, you're all outside and an event occurs.
That can also be
feed off of that event. What's your reaction? Go around the table, let everyone have their first initial reaction to what's happened, and then let the campaign, build and go from there.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be goblin raiders or orc raiders. It can be something like there's a fire in the woods. What are you going to do about it? The town's connected to the woods,
right.
or the inn is burning down, and it's not your fault. What are you going to do besides scratch your head and be like, I didn't do that.
It's not your fault this time.
Yeah, it's not your fault this time. Those kind of things. That commonality.
With the game you were talking about that I'm running, we did a session 0. It's very helpful because what I did is, everyone was making their characters, and I took notes as people were building their characters, as they said certain things, as they came up with ideas. So it, really like putting everyone together. It was easy because everyone kind of gave me what I needed.
Right.
And you can do that same thing. Get together with your players and talk to them and find out what their objectives are, what their goals are. And you just take that information and start weaving it into your plot.
Session 0 is really important. I did that with the newbie campaign. the new player campaign, and the only thing I had done for my campaign is I rolled up the villain from the DMG randomly.
Nice.
That's the only thing I had done for the campaign. I had nothing else, and until I had the backgrounds, I didn't even know where I was going to put them.
Right.
And I ended up making a place on the spot in our Griffin Gaff campaign world, whatever we're going to call it, and 300 miles, northeast of Griffin Gaff. Yeah, some amount of miles northeast of Griffin Gaff. And I made up a region around it. I said, well, this is what I want this region to do. And I've just been building on it from there. But it all started off with, I had a villain and I had no plot or anything except for what that villain wanted to do and the character backgrounds. And I made everything
And that's all you need is that grain. A pearl's formed from a grain.
Yep.
Yeah.
A grain of sand. So really all you need is that one little thing, and you just build out slow. You don't have to do it all at once. If you want to have a campaign and you want it to be like the books you read, then make it about the characters. Yes. Because you know why those books are good is because it's about the characters. It's not going to be on the same level, but because it's a shared experience, it's completely different. But as soon as you start building it around the characters, it'll start to feel more like a novel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you guys. What do you think?
I think
Anything
that's a
else?
good place to end on. All about the characters.
Yeah, make it about the characters, and then the players will be 100% behind you.
If you have any suggestions out there that we might have missed or disagree with any of our points, go ahead and put it in the comments below. While you're there, click share, subscribe.
You can hang out with us on our website, nerdarchy.com.
You can also join a conversation on Reddit.
So until next time, my friends,
Stay nerdy. Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy here, for Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with the Nerdarchy crew.
I'm Ted.
I'm Nate.
We had a comment/request from a William Coletti. Actually, he had a couple requests, but we're going to break it down a little bit today.
If you want to elevate your game away from that, okay, you guys, it all starts off with you guys are in a tavern. It's a stereotype that's been around, for decades, and there's easy ways to do something, apart from that. And I think 5th edition really kind of gives you a lot of tools to help with that.
It does. Well, you know what, too? I just put up a book review on the website today for the Lazy Dungeon Master, and he actually gives great suggestions for kind of what, William's talking.
Game that I ran on Saturday night, I clearly, I gave a couple things to work with, and I let you guys just run. And it was like an hour or two worth of you guys spooning me, whatever you felt like doing.
So, in order to have that happen too, you need to give. What you really have to do is you have to come up like the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
And from the beginning, you have to offer some choices, and then you have to be kind of prepared for them to do whatever the choices are that you put before them,
and to think outside the box and take a different choice.
Yeah, because that can very well happen about here, and how to kind of combat that. One is when you run that style of game, you are building the story for your players. You're not building it with them.
Right.
So that's going to be the first thing that detracts. See, when we start dungeon mastering and we run a game, we feel like we have to control everything, and that we're responsible for making sure everything happens. Mm-hmm. And I've fallen into this trap many a times, but we're not. We're participants, right?
I've been in that boots where I've just been kind of ham-handing some stuff. But I mean, my game.
And one of the things he was saying is how when he starts his campaigns, they all kind of start off with the same tropes of meet in the tavern, or the adventurers responding to a rumor or something that's posted. And he also says how their go-to is dungeon crawls, and he reads the novels, and there's always these great stories, but his campaigns never turn out that way.
Right.
So I think we can help them out a little bit. Though.
First, I want to say there's nothing wrong with that style if everybody's happy with it.